there you're looking at the bottom of the differential. And I'm going to put the strut rod bracket on. You notice it has a dip here. That part of it goes to the front of the car. It's hard to see it, but if you had one in your hand, there it is. This goes towards the front of the car. So I'm going to put a little bit of, just a very tiny bit of lock tape on the bolt. This only needs to be torqued to 35 foot-pounds. And see if we can get one of these guys started. And I should have cleaned out these holes before I started. Paint has cooled up in it and dried, so it's not going to go in without cleaning those holes out. Okay, I got the bolts cleaned out, bolt holes. And I just noticed while I was doing that, you cannot put this on backwards because the holes are in slightly different positions. If you have it reversed, the holes will not line up. So that's a nice feature. The designers actually did it right. I guess sometimes engineers aren't the bad guys. Other times they are. They do stuff stupid. First bolt threaded in very nice. Second one seems a little bit tight. Probably from the paint on when they painted the differential after they rebuilt it. I did not do that. I purchased this already rebuilt. As I was trying to raise the lift to give myself more working room, I found out I have a problem. The cylinder that raises it is leaking pretty bad. I have to get that attended to. Okay, all I gotta do now is torque that to 35 foot-pounds. And it's done. Except I have a little bit of a problem. I have my calipers drying on my tool chest that has my torque wrench in it. So that's gonna have to wait till another day. The next step is installing the strut rod to the bracket and the spindle. Okay, that is the driver's side. I've already started the strut rod onto the bracket at the passenger side. And the reason I didn't show that is I didn't know which way I had to turn it, because both of these ends are threaded opposite, so that when you get these ends positioned in place, you can turn the center rod and it will either expand or contract the length between the two ends, and that's how you adjust the camber on your rear wheels. So I am going to finish screwing this on. I'm going to screw it all the way on, which will mean that it's probably going to be shorter than it needs to. But the advantage of doing that is, in order to get it to line up, once I put the, so that I can get the bolt in actually, I've just got to turn that sleeve and it will lengthen or shorten it, whichever I need. Well, in this case it'll lengthen it because I made it too short deliberately. But then to adjust the camber when it's all done, you just go ahead and tighten that or loosen it, and then loosen my camera here. And then once you, as you tighten it or loosen it, it will set the camber. So hopefully I can get these up into the bracket without too much trouble. Hopefully I don't have too much paint on there, because a lot of the things I've done here have been a problem because of thickness of the paint interfering with it. Okay, so that is, I want to get this roughly in the center, I think. Then there are some plates here that I will show you as soon as I unbag them. So the plates they give you with them are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can see the 1, 2, 3. You turn it over and they are numbered 4, 5, 6. And they look like they are the same. Pattern is pretty much the same. If you do that, but they're not quite the same. So you do have to have them so that the 1, 2, 3 is facing in the same direction. And they want number 3. They said most applications use hole number 3. But they both have to be facing you. So when you're putting them in the car, you're standing at the back facing the front. So the 1, 2, 3s have to face the back in order for them to line up. So once you figure that out, trying to figure out, there is in the center of the picture is the bracket, and in order for me to use hole number 3, which they tell you to put towards the bottom, I need to lengthen that tie rod, or the strut rod. So by turning it clockwise, as you're facing the outside of the car, it lengthens it. The instructions are a little bit confusing because they tell you that when you put this in, you should be able to read it, but putting it in the way the words tell you to do it, the 3 is actually pointing sideways. So not exactly straightforward. What I'm trying to do is to get the bolt through the hole in the strut. And then I will, once I've got that lined up, I can line the plate up because I can twist it on the bolt. So there, that came through nicely. Now, with the 3 towards me on the back, this should line up and go right into the slots on the bracket. Or did they mean to? Yep. I guess now I'm confused because when I have the, okay, that's on with the 3s both pointing towards the back of the car. I'm going to reread those instructions and make sure that's the right way, because by tightening this, I could actually line up the 5 hole and it would work. So I'm going to have to double check that and before I put the bolt on. Okay, so using this plates for the other side, if I line them up like this, the holes are all in alignment perfectly. But if I flip this over, the first side said 4, 5, 6. This side says 1, 2, 3. So in order for them to be lined up perfectly, they have to say 4, 5, 6, both in the same direction, or 1, 2, 3, both in the same direction. If you flip one over so that you are looking at it from the other side, they don't line up. So when the instructions tell you, you can read it, you're looking at it, they're not, apparently, they're not telling you that you can read it once it's on the car, because when it's on the car and this is lined up, on the rear side I see 1, 2, 3, on the front side I see 4, 5, 6. But if I could read that from the back, it would say 1, 2, 3. So the instructions could be better. And now that I've got that in there, I forgot to put a little bit of lube on the inside of that bolt. I don't want it to rust on there, so I'm going to take it out, put a little bit of my Master Coat inner panel protective, but it says you can use it on all kinds of things. I'm just using it because it doesn't dry, it won't dissolve, and it should keep that from rusting. And the nut that goes on once it's all on is a locking nut. I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can see that on there, but on the head of it there's 3 little marks right there, there, and there. So you torque it to 70 foot-pounds, which again I can't do now because I've got calipers drying and I don't want to touch them. But I will take this off, put some of that rust preventer on the bolt, put it back in, and tighten it tight enough for now. Okay, I'm working on the driver's side now, and I wanted to share a little tidbit that I discovered when working on the passenger side. That I've got the bolt through hole number 3 on the plate, through the strut rod, and through this plate here, but it doesn't quite line up. And an easy way to do that is to just lengthen or shorten your strut rod, and it will eventually line up perfectly, and it goes in really easily once you've got that lined up. So I'm just putting on the nut. And I'm going to tighten it just with a ratchet. I don't have a torque wrench, but as I said, I will come back and torque it once I have the torque wrench available. I should have thought of that before. I started this. fairly tight. I will, as I said, torque it later. Okay, now this is temporarily, I guess, where it's going to be. There are jam nuts on both ends of this, on the heim joints, that once you get your alignment correct by lengthening or shortening the strut rod, you take these nuts and you tighten them up against the strut rod, and that keeps it from loosening and changing your alignment. I believe these are a little better than the stock ones because there's no give in the heim joints. They will rotate if necessary, but there's no lateral movement or up and down movement like you would get with rubber bushing inside here. So your alignment stays correct all the way through any turns, regardless of how much pressure you put on it. Now I can tell by the amount of thread showing on each of these strut rods that I am nowhere near having these aligned similarly, but there's no reason to do that until I get the body on and align it, and then I'll tighten it down. I'll make them the same, and then I'll tighten them down, and we'll be good to go.